I'm Joshua Bolden, and I'm here with Danya Bacchus of WREG News Channel 3. She is a reporter. And first, let me say thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to do this. I really do appreciate it. I know that your parents, they're both in education. Mm-hmm. Your mom is in special education, and your father is a retired professor at Hampton University.
Right.
Okay. How did journalism come about? Because you would think with two parents in education that you would have wound up
in education. You know, education was never even something I thought about. Growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. I said I was going to be a pediatrician, I was going to have my own practice, and I loved kids so much where I said I would have my own practice and then have a daycare right beside the practice. So I had a plan, and it wasn't until my senior year of high school that I went to North Carolina A&T, and my parents took me there for a visit, and we visited the biology department, and the dean of the biology department was breaking down all the classes that I would have to take, and I was sitting there bored. And my parents, on the ride home, you know, they said, Danya, you know, you really didn't look like you were interested. I struggled in math and science in high school, and they were like, you know, that's going to be the core of all the classes you take. And my dad said, you like to talk a lot, why don't you do something with communications? And that's when both of my parents were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I could. And I looked into it, you know, and it just kind of went from there. I changed my major my freshman year, and I absolutely loved it.
First job was in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And then from there, did you go on to, because you also went on to become a producer, associate producer on Get the Hookup?
Right.
And on TV One, and then you also freelanced for BET's Bobby Jones. So how did you make that transition? Did you transition from that, or was that something that you did on the side?
An interesting story, to me at least, started out in Winston-Salem as an assignment editor. I was an intern at the station my senior year, and the news director there hired me to run the assignment desk the second semester of my senior year. Then after I graduated, I was at that point where I still didn't know if I wanted to what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a reporter, but I did like the behind the scenes because that's where you have the control. Really, you know, you call the shots.
That's true.
And so my news director there, thankfully she liked me enough where she let me kind of dibble and dab. Did that for almost 2 years. Then we got called into the station one day, and they said, this is it. 2 weeks, we're shutting down the news operation of the station. So it kind of left me, thank God I had just graduated, and it wasn't to a point where I had a family, you know, I could go back home with mom and live with her for a little while. So after we got laid off from that station, I went back home, and then I had some girlfriends in DC, and they said, why don't you, you know, just come crash with us for a little while, you can do freelance stuff here. And that's how I got into Bobby Jones. I was a production assistant, so with Bobby Jones, basically, production assistants, you get anything the talent needs, pretty much. It's almost, I don't want to say a gopher, but, you know, they have the writers of what they want in their dressing rooms, what they want, you know, and I was that person that if they wanted M&Ms, I made sure they had the bowl of M&Ms. If they wanted tea with organic honey, we made sure, you know, they had that. It was.
Sounds very hectic.
It was. It was. And then after that was up, that's when I went to Get the Hookup. And I was an assistant writer for that show, where I basically helped to get all the information about the contestants, kind of wrote a little jokes. Even though Russ Parr, I don't know if you're familiar with Russ Parr. He's a radio personality. He can handle his own when it comes to jokes. But when it came to the games and stuff, you know, just kind of wrote the questions and, you know, things like that. So it was really interesting.
I take it that the production side of entertainment shows, did that not hold your attention as much as journalism did, or because you made the transition back to journalism?
Right, I did.
So how did that work out?
Well, freelancing, you only have a gig for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
I think Bobby Jones lasted like 2 weeks. and Get the Hookup lasted almost 4 weeks.
Okay.
So then I still needed a permanent job. Freelancing, I really enjoyed because it gives you the flexibility to kind of work how you want to, but it's not always guaranteed. You have to have another project to go to. So at the time, I was still looking after we ended up with Get the Hookup, still looking for a job, and I was still sending out my resume tape to different places, and that's when my news director in Salisbury called me at WMDT and said, hey, we're interested in you, and if you know anything about D.C. and Salisbury, I was already in D.C. Salisbury is like 2 hours from D.C.
Okay.
So it was a quick drive, to go for an interview, and I got offered the job there and said, okay, this is, let's try this reporting thing out and see how it works for me.
Is there a story that you have covered that just resonates with you, that still sticks with you, that you just cannot shake?
I think one of the stories, of course, that everyone remembers who lives here is when the West Memphis police officers were killed. That definitely was one that will always be with me because, you get sent out to the scene. The only thing, we hear stuff on police scanners. And I get sent out, and it was like, we don't know what's going on in West Memphis, but 2 police officers may have been shot. And so you go out there like, oh, God, 2 police officers shot. But then to be out on the scene, and it goes from 2 police officers, initial were shot, to 2 police officers were dead, and then you have another shootout in the Walmart parking lot that you then have to go to. They're like, go to the Walmart parking lot, there's a shootout there. And you're thinking, I'm not going to the shootout. Do they have, that's dangerous. But to be in that atmosphere, to be a part of that, and still have to hold your composure, and deliver. And it was madness, complete madness in that Walmart parking lot. And to know that 2 officers had lost their lives, to know that one of them was the police chief's son, who we've done numerous interviews with. When you interview people more than once, you definitely feel like you have some kind of rapport with them.
You do. Yeah.
So to know, that it was police chief's son, and then to know that there were, 2 other people who actually did the shooting, who were shot and killed, it was just, that will always be with me.
We all have, most journalists that I've talked to, and I'm sure I'll have mine somewhere down the line. What is your, oh my God, I cannot believe I just did that moment? What is your most embarrassing moment that it'll stick with you?
Oh gosh, through the years you'll have many of those. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that, or oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. And then of course when you're asked about them, you can't remember. But I remember there was one time that we were in the snow, and I had a snowball, and I was going to throw it up, during my live shot, and I threw it up, and it just it just crumbled. I was going to catch it, but it was just like, it just exploded. I don't know how it happened, but that was just so embarrassing to me.
We'll talk about the National Association of Black Journalists. Danya is a member, she's an active member of NABJ, and I just have a couple of questions here. You attended the convention in San Diego.
Right.
Describe that to me. Describe that to NABJ members. Describe that to potential journalists who may want to get involved in NABJ.
The convention, if you are with fellow students who are journalists and you guys have some kind of meeting, imagine that times 50. It is professional people who you probably have looked up to in the business, those from CNN, MSNBC, NBC, everyone is there, and everyone's just like you. That's the amazing part about it, is because, people that you look up to in the business are right there beside you. And, all of a sudden you realize, they are just like me. You go to different workshops that they have for you to be able to discuss the issues that are going on in the business. Then I think what everyone likes is there's a huge job fair. And there is the chance where even if you're not looking for a job, you get the chance to sit down with news directors from markets like LA, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, and they critique your work. And you can get an honest opinion about where you are and where people, think you're going to be. And it puts it into perspective. You know, sometimes you'll walk away feeling like, oh my God, I'm never, going to make it, or other people will see something in you and, you'll feel like, yes, I can do this, But it gives you the chance to get more than one person's critical eye looking at your work, and forces you to see things differently and to think about doing, the way you write stories differently. They'll look at a story and say, oh, well, why didn't you do this? And you'll think, why didn't I do that, But it also gives you the chance to network, because in this business, within life, they say it's not about
what you know. It's who you know.
It's who you know. And that you realize that this business is so small that the networking that you gain from NABJ is like none other.
One day, I mean, you're young, so you probably haven't thought about this, because I really haven't thought about it either. But one day, when you look back at your career, what do you hope that the viewers got from you? What do you hope that your legacy is? What is Danya Bacchus' legacy?
Oh, that, I still try to formulate that to this day. But I think my thing is I want to be able to make an impact on wherever I go. And by impact, I mean I want people to still remember me and some of the stories that I've done. You want to feel as if the stories that you are telling make a difference. I want people to be able to say years from now, oh, I remember when Danya came and, she did that story and then I got help right after that, or for a young person to say, I remember when Danya Bacchus came to my neighborhood and somebody got shot, but she stood there and, asked me about school, or, she taught. It's not just necessarily the stories that I do, but like I said, when feeling that people can relate to you, you want people to be able to say, oh, I remember her, she did more than just report. She was actually out in the community. She tried to help us, and I think that's what it is. I'm still formulating the legacy part, but for right now, you do want to feel as if you've made an impact and if you've made a difference in the lives of the people who watch you.
And you got a while to formulate that.
Yeah.
So last but not least, I want you to talk to the aspiring young journalists out there. I want you to tell them what is your advice? What do we need to do to get where you are and to keep ascending in this field?
Work hard. Work very hard. Always know that someone is watching you and your actions and the things that you are doing. And know that when you first get in this business, if you're in it for the money, it's not going to happen. And don't be afraid to take positions and not get paid, and don't be afraid to take positions and not get paid what you think you should get paid, because when you work hard, in the end, it's eventually going to come. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say that journalism, when my advisor sat me down and said exactly what you just said, I said journalism is not about that for me. Journalism for me is about talking to the people and getting your stories, getting the people's stories and telling that to the world, broadcasting that to the world, perhaps teaching somebody that, may not live in Memphis something new. Is that the same for you?
Yeah,
basically?
Definitely. It's not, if you're in it thinking it's going to be this glamorous position that, you're going to have hair and makeup and be like Kim Kardashian in fashion. No, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be deadlines. It's going to be breaking news. It's going to be madness. It's going to be chasing after people in the streets, knocking on doors. You cannot be afraid. That's the one thing. If you are afraid to put yourself out there, this is not where you need to be, because you have to do that. Every day I'm knocking on somebody's door. I have to convince people to talk to me. When people see the cameras, unfortunately, some people think, oh, people automatically run to you. No. Okay. They run away because they don't. A lot of people, oh, my hair doesn't look good, I don't want to be on camera. I have to convince people every day to try to talk to me. So just be willing to work hard for nothing at first, but have the passion and really think about, like Josh asked me, about the legacy that you want to leave, and look at some of the people who have come before you and where they have gone with their careers, how they deliver, and try to be like them. while developing your own style, of course.
Well, I really appreciate you taking time.
Thank you so much. I have enjoyed myself.
So much fun.
Thank you. Same here.